No clickbait, just look at the footage. This is a Grandmaster Nightfall where my build tanks multiple threats at once. It's hard to see what's going on, but keep looking at my health and the orbs in the left corner. It's resilient without blocking, it cranks orbs out, and it's capable of pushing in and self-sustaining without a healer. It can handle every type of champion. Overload, unstop barrier, doesn't matter. If you want to cook this up, here is the fast recipe. I'll go over substitutions in the full breakdown. Prismatic Hunter with a Spirit of Renewals, Certarachne class item. Multi-Mock with Attrition Orbs and Kinetic Tremors. Ergo Sum with Arc Conductor. Waveframe is the funnest. Ill Omen with Attrition Orbs and Cold Steel. Golden Gun or Shadow Shot for your super. Marksman's Dodge, Combination Blow, Duskfield. Your aspects are Winter's Shroud and Gunpowder Gamble. Fragments are Generosity, Devotion, Protection, Purpose, Awakening, Hope. Here's a screenshot of the armor mods and artifact mods you'll be using. For a longer breakdown, stick around. Okay, let's get into it. This build seems simple at first, but has a good amount of nuance and is one of the most entertaining builds I've played in Destiny. So, where is this build good? Grandmasters or dungeons where you will be engaging targets at close range and the enemy density is high. This is not a boss DPS build, it is a tank who supports their team while being effective at pushing and taking aggro. This build front lines for your teammates, dealing with threats while remaining safe. I'm playing footage of the Disgraced here. Watch specifically the bottom left corner and the orbs generated. These orbs help both you and your teammates. Watch where I am and the amount of enemies around me. This season, there are multiple GMs where this build can excel. Disgraced, Fallen Saber, Exodus Crash, Insight Terminus, Psyops Cosmodrome, Devil's Lair, and Liminality. All of these have areas where this build can deal with the enemies effectively. With that, let's get into the breakdown of the build. You get Woven Mail each time you toss your grenade. That's Duskfield, Gunpowder Gamble, and Hailfire Spike. All three of these will give you Woven Mail, and that's 45% damage reduction for 10 seconds. When you dodge with Winter Shroud, you receive 50% DR for 4 seconds. When you use your Ergo Sum's Heavy, it will give you 50% DR to arc damage for 6 seconds. When you stand in your Duskfield, you'll receive stacks of Frost Armor, which will give you 22.5% DR at 5 stacks for 10 seconds. Enemies inside the Duskfield deal 50% less damage. When you get Arc multi-kills or kill a big target with Arc, you'll receive Amplified, which will give you 30% DR for 16 seconds with Galvanic Armor. Transcendence will give you 20% DR, and Facet of Protection will give you 15% DR while near 3 or more enemies. The point is not to have all of these stacked up, but to have enough of them stacked at any time to help you sustain by making orbs through kills or by hitting enemies with your primary or power weapon. Which brings us to the second part of the build. You make orbs. Lots of orbs. Some of these will be for your teammates rather than yourself, but that's fine. If they can crank out supers, that helps you. The build is made to create orbs and be helpful for the team alongside its other duties. Double Arc Siphon means you make a big orb with arc weapon multi-kills. Double Reaper means every time you dodge, you'll make an orb on your next weapon kill with a cooldown of 5 seconds between each use. Attrition Orbs means your Ill Omen will give you an orb on each heavy attack on a beefy target or on multiple targets it hits. Your Multi-Mock will take roughly half a mag before creating an orb, which is a bargain. Facet of Generosity just means you make orbs for allies on kill while Transcendent. You'll just see your name in the feed near constantly. Here's a screenshot of orbs created, and you make more the longer the Nightfall goes on. So, where is this build not good? This build is not good when you need to deal with multiple snipers and cannot close distance or sit in the fray safely. It does not do GMs as quickly as certain other builds, so if you're aiming to speedrun, This build is better for carrying or being relatively quick while still having a lot of fun. You are not going to hit 5 minutes in Disgraced with this build primarily because while it can duel champions, it cannot outright instantly delete them. But it is reliable. It takes heat off your teammates when you sit in the mix and are still contributing. If the enemies are dying on top of you and you are doing damage, your teammates are made safer by you. You are the tank. So, how do you work your magic? You start out by immediately heading for the easy targets, making orbs and clearing things out for your allies. I'm going to go ahead and show a full run of Disgraced, not as a guide to Disgraced itself, but rather as a guide to the build and the variety of tools and tricks it has. As you see me push in here, what I'm going to be doing is trying to make my path towards the enemies as quickly as possible so I can get in there and start making orbs off them. I have my Woven Mail up, I have Amplified up, I have Arc Conductor up. That's enough resists to tank most of the room, and I'll keep making orbs so that I constantly have Resto up. I end up spotting a champion that's pretty low, so I chase after it, take it out, and then I go after the other one because I'm fairly confident that I can take it out without any issue, even without assistance from allies. By this point I have Transcendent, so I can pop it and immediately start getting more ammo, making more orbs. You can see them in the bottom left just scrolling up. I still have Transcendence because I extended it with Ergo, and now I can just push in and start dealing with these champions as well. I get the barrier down, I throw my Gunpowder Gamble, that's Woven Mail back up again. And you can see here that I am still taking a decent amount of damage from enemies, because Woven Mail is good, but it isn't good enough to stand up to multiple wizards. So I push in with Arc Conductor. Amplified is also giving that 30% DR here, which is quite nice to have alongside that Woven Mail. My allies both died here, so I just head on back and get them back up. And then it's back into the fray. I do make a mistake here that's important to notice. You can see the Arc Conductor expire as I hop over, and that almost gets me killed because I didn't keep another damage reduction buff at that time. I kill the champion pretty quickly. So your Golden Gun isn't really much of a damage tool or something you should save. It's something to be used in certain situations just to make orbs for teammates and finish off champions. Oftentimes it's rather risky to use it because you don't get your damage reduction after you pop it. It'll strip it off of you, so if you have Woven Mail or something of the kind, it can be dangerous to use it in certain situations. So this mostly is just spawn camping, taking out champions. I'll rush this over a bit, where we just kind of cycle through them. And then fighting Navoda, I burn my Goldie here just to make some orbs for teammates, and I push in. And then I have all my buffs up, I have Transcendence up, so I push in even further. You can see here that I'm taking damage from quite a few targets, but I'm not actually losing much health because of the amount of health that I'm getting back from Resto alongside the damage reduction that I get. I can pretty well mitigate most of it and take out the champions alone. My allies are dealing with Navoda at this point, so it's okay for me to just push in even further. So I make my way up the hill. I don't really care too much about the ogre or the barrier champion up top because I can come back for them later. What I want to do is take out more adds and deal with the double barriers at top. You can see Transcendence right here builds insanely fast just from Duskfield ticks. It is very effective at building a lot of darkness energy, and it's important to use it on decent groups if you can, but it also serves a good use as a damage reduction tool because of the renewal grasps. You can see I make some more orbs for allies here. You can just count those going down there. There's 10 plus orbs. I'll speed this part up here. You can see me push down and start fighting Navoda. I should have made more orbs here to start out with. I threw my gunpowder gamble, which doesn't make orbs, so I don't have as many orbs as I'm used to here, so I need to disengage and get my health back a little bit before heading back in. Fortunately, I have a good amount of cover and I'm not too worried about the enemies that roll in here because I do have enough resists to deal with them. So, as we phase the boss, I'll pop Transcendence and start camping the spawns. This is important in a lot of different GMs. If you can take out the enemies before they start becoming threats to your allies, they'll be a lot safer and better off. A lot of GMs have this sort of gameplay aspect where if you can take out those spawns as they're coming in, they are a lot less threatening as opposed to them being able to set up and start sieging you. It's why a lot of GMs are easier if you push in and start taking them out rather than sitting back. Here, the champions spawned in, but I don't have my Duskfield or my Gunpowder Gamble yet. So what I'm doing is getting orbs back to see if I can get it. Fortunately, an ally stuns them, and so I'll go in on that. I go down to the lower level, I have my Duskfield ready this time, and then we just mop that champion up. I pop my golden to just give allies some more orbs, and then I'll push in. Pop Transcendence once my abilities are down. And you'll remember that each time you dodge, you get a 50% DR with Winter's Shroud. This is important because you can see here how often I have it up. Every time you slow enemies, which your grenade will do, as well as your dodge, you'll get a huge amount of dodge energy back. So it's important to use it as often as you can, but in situations where you're going to be taking a good amount of damage. It lasts for 4 seconds, so that's a smaller window than some of your other abilities. With that, let's get back to discussing the other parts of the build. So, let's talk about why things get chosen, which I feel is an important process in build crafting, and not talked about enough. Why did you choose these abilities for this purpose? Here are the build objectives. You want Transcendence up as often as possible. You want to help allies by creating orbs. You want to output good damage while being in melee range, but be a threat the enemies focus on. So everything is centered around that. Marksman's dodge because it has a lower cooldown than Gambler's, and you aren't using your melee. So why do I run Combination Blow when I never use it? It's because having an arc ability equipped allows you to get amplified off arc kills, even if you never once use the ability. Any ability with this little symbol in the top can be used, except thrusters. Ergo, you can use Ergo to get amplified while having Combination Blow equipped. Winter's Shroud synergizes with Duskfield, Hailfire Spike, and Cold Steel, and all of these allow you to proc Gunpowder Gamble, which then gives you Woven Mail. You run Golden Gun or Shadow Shot because these are the best sustained tools you can run in Prismatic. Facet of Purpose gives you some form of protection on orb pickup based on your super, so it is beneficial to choose your super based on Facet of Purpose and how your build synergizes. In this case, Restoration and Void Overshield are both extremely beneficial because getting health becomes more and more valuable the more damage reduction you have. I feel Restoration is more valuable for survival, but Shadow Shot is better for mopping up groups. Both supers make a good amount of orbs for teammates as well, which is a very nice side benefit. Your weapons and debuffs give you a combination of darkness and light energy very quickly, and you can top up on either one easily. Ergo will provide you with light and dark in lesser measure, and Ill Omen will provide you with darkness. Multi-Mock will provide you with both. The reason why Transcendence is so important is because it provides an insane buff to you and Ergo all at once. It provides you with 20% DR. It boosts your ability regen, Ergo charge rate, Ergo damage, and even allows you to regain Ergo ammo with your grenade. So it's important to weave it in or make the build incorporate it when you can. So I'll try to give a quick guide on how to use it. You pop it before you're about to clear out adds or are about to push in. It's a preemptive tool becoming more powerful by way of how you utilize it. You put the grenades near spawn locations or on top of bosses. For this build in particular, each time you use your grenade, you get Woven Mail. The grenade slows enemies, which gives you dodge regen. The dodge regen then allows you to proc Reaper more often, which then assists in the process of making even more orbs. It also gives you ammo back for Ergo, which then starts the process back up, by giving grenade energy when you hit the enemies with Transcendence up. It is an incredible cycle of tools, and I highly recommend trying to incorporate it into your builds in a more cohesive way. Substitutions become a little difficult because they will make the synergies in the build weaker. But here is what I think are suitable ones. The main substitution is going to be Multi-Mock because it's difficult to get the exact roll you want. Any kinetic slot primary ammo weapon with attrition orbs will suffice, but will make situations a little harder. The ideal is an SMG or a pulse rifle to be able to deal with barrier champions without Radiant. Your alternate options are Cold Front and Stay Frosty from Dawning, but if you don't have these, you can make sure to have Radiant off an orb and use these options. Origin Story, Bold Endings, Midnight Coup, or Veiled Threat as potential options. Ergo doesn't require a wave frame, but it is really fun. Any Arc Conductor will do. Ill Omens is available this season. Please just craft it. You probably have a million engrams anyway. If you don't have a class exotic with Cert Arachne, I would recommend waiting until you do. The ideal is Renewal Cert, but any exotic class Cert roll will do. Heart of Inmost Cert Arachne would be my secondary pick for this. If this was helpful to you, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. Thanks, and have a good one.